if you're a wine lover, you can't help but be excited by Portugal because it has this wonderful treasure trove of native grape varieties, and the wine detective really, for me, is about this journey through wine.
Now, if I'm a wine consumer, your average wine lover, wine enthusiast, what would you tell me to go and find some interesting, nice Portuguese wines? What would you recommend me to look for?
What would I recommend you to look for in terms of particular grape varieties or wine styles or wine regions?
I don't know.
Could be any.
Tell me.
Could be any. Well, it's something that I love to do actually when I'm talking to people about Portuguese wines is to work with the geography of the country and the grape varieties, and to talk to people about northern Portugal, because nowadays from the UK you can fly to Oporto, very cheap flight, there's lots of great places, new hotels, restaurants to eat. There are wine routes in Vinho Verde, which I think is a really exciting region. I'm really keen on the alvarinhos, so encourage people to do that, taste those wines, and they're always really surprised by the top alvarinho Vinho Verdes, because it's not the idea that they have a Vinho Verde. So that's always fun to surprise people in that way. And then to say, okay, and just go, 70 kilometers to the east. You have to go over this little mountain, and when you do, you're into port wine country and Douro table wines, and that always really surprises people. So
that's an amazing region in some ways.
It's an amazing region, but I think it's amazing for people to taste that Atlantic diversity, and then the inland sort of mountain vineyard, totally different style of wine. So not just diversity of grape variety, but also that geological, topographical influence really shining through the wines, and it kind of encapsulates in an easy way, all the differences that you can have in Portugal, and why Portugal for me is a really exciting wine country.
Now, I think both you and I, we agree that Portugal has some really exciting, interesting wines, but they don't sell quite as well as they could. Thinking of the wines. Now, what do the Portuguese wine growers need to do, in your view, personal view, to sell their wines better?
Well, we agree they make some great wines. I think 3 words: education, education, and education, because they are doing something different. If you're from Brazil or Angola, you speak Portuguese, that's great, but for people who don't speak Portuguese, it's not the easiest of languages. In terms of spelling, it's difficult. A lot of the wines are blends, and people have become so used to single varietal wines that they even find the concept of a blend difficult, quite aside from when you get into talking about the grape varieties with all these difficult spellings and pronunciation. So I think that Portuguese wine growers really have to think about educating the consumer, so they can do that by hosting wine visits. They can make sure they're on a wine route in a wine region, that they're in the local tasting house. They can have a website. They can be on Twitter. They can have a Facebook, so they can provide some presence and education, so that if people want to find out about the wines, they can. I think labels, back labels, so important when I'm presenting tastings for wine societies who are people who are interested in wines. They are always saying to me, Sarah, where are the back labels? They want to be able to see the grape varieties, they want to be able to learn how to spell them, because they're interested, they do want to know.
It's often little things.
You just need to put that in front of people, and you need to keep putting it in front of people. And I think education really is the most important thing for Portuguese producers to think about. All the opportunities, all the way along, if you like, the supply chain, where they can educate and keep repeating the message about the wines, the region, the grape varieties. The food matches I think is really important, because I think Portuguese wines are very food-friendly wines, and you and I know that there's an enormous interest in food. Massive, much more interested in food than wine. So if you can ride on the coattails of food, I think that's another great route for Portuguese wines.
Now, talking about education, Sarah, the wine detective, tell me what you do. What is the wine detective?
Okay, so, well, the Wine Detective is, if you like, my nom de plume. So it's me. The idea of the Wine Detective is that a glass of wine is a rich source of clues about the wine region, the grape variety, the age of the wine, all these sorts of aspects of wine. And in addition to writing about wine, I run wine tastings, and in those wine tastings what I want to do is to get people to focus on the clues in the glass, because normally when we drink wine it's a social thing, you know, we're busy drinking it, we're not thinking about the region, the grape varieties, we're just enjoying the wine, probably talking with our friends or watching the television, having our TV dinner, but we're not thinking so much about what's in the glass. And in a wine tasting you can do that. And of course the fantastic thing about a wine tasting is that you have, you know, 8 different wines maybe, which I don't know about you, but I think most people when they're drinking wine don't have 8 different wines on the go. And of course the fantastic thing about a wine tasting is that you can compare and contrast the different wines, and I think that's the best way to learn. So you can pick up on that Vinho Verde from an Atlantic region, the freshness, great white wines, go over the mountain into the Douro and pick up that sunshine in the glass, that minerality of the schist soils. Everything becomes clear.
And if one is interested, one can do that with you?
If one is interested, one can do that with me. www.thewinedetective.co.uk. And I work a lot with Vinho Portugal on tastings. So definitely recommend Portuguese wine tasting. It's for you.
From the mountains in Portugal with Sarah, the Wine Detective. Thank you.
Thank you very much.